Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Time to get this place unlocked.
We're back in business, folks. Well, the lights were off, the halls were quiet, paper piled up like a New Year's diet. Phones weren't ringing, no one punching in, but now the band is back, let the good times begin. Step, swing open those doors again. Let the government groove, my friend. Stamp those forms, fire up the pen, 'cause the shutdown blues just met their end. Oh, swing open those doors again.
Hello, everybody. Safety Wars for Thursday, November 13th, 2025. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you had a nice, safe day. Yes, so we had a happy song, and we'll close it out with that. Also, swing open those doors. Ay, what a freaking ride that was. The Shutdown. Showdown? If you want to consider a showdown, we could do that too. Ay. So, I talked to a couple of federal workers today, and they're like, thank God everything's back. Everything's back. But the question is this. What is the fallout going to be here? Well, what do you mean, Jim? A lot of people use a lot of political capital here. A lot of people disappointed a lot of their supporters here. Like I said last night, we had some audio issues on the video end last night. I don't know how the hell that happened, but who knows? Not important. So, SNAP benefits are going to be to the end of fiscal year, September 30th. We have other issues going on with Obamacare, the subsidy extension. All right? It's like this. Only a certain group of people wanted Obamacare back in 2010. There was almost a vote, except for one, John McCain, to repeal Obamacare. Business owners and entrepreneurs did not like the whole thing, Affordable Care Act, because the people who it was meant for, everybody, right? Everybody had to have insurance, were not happy because if they didn't have insurance, they had to pay a premium. They had to pay a fine, or the Supreme Court called it a tax. Not a fine, but tax, if you recall. This and the other thing is with an insurance company, they have to know all your dirt, pretty much. Now, they know all your dirt, everything with it. The guy, and of course, now you integrate that with the government. Now it has the potential to become weaponized. So you're going to say, well, Jim, what's the big deal? Blah, blah, blah. Now, other countries have it, we should have it. Public health is numbers. It's what it is. Whether we like it or not, part of the safety war is numbers. Cost, benefit. We found this out during COVID with the shots. In other words, I'm not going to go into whether you have a shot or not have it, whatever. However, according to my sources close to the manufacturer of one of the vaccinations, under normal circumstances, this stuff would have never been approved. Why? Not because it's dangerous, but because there wasn't enough testing to see its efficacy and also that's its effectiveness and all of the risks. And right now, it's going to be from now until Stolat, as the Polish say, where we're going to be out there wondering what the long-term effects are. We know societally what the long-term effects of COVID were. We'll be reaping those for a long time. And my children, and they're, pardon me, I got the hiccups. My children, my daughter started kindergarten right at the beginning of the COVID. Long-term effects of that. Got everybody addicted to these freaking things, right? I'm holding up a cell phone. What's the other stuff? Getting children to read. There's nothing like one-on-one instruction. There's certain things you cannot do through a computer screen. You still need hard copy, right? You need group things, not through a computer screen, but person to person. And a lot of children are still struggling. And they're from good families and good situations at home and everything else. They're still struggling with the impacts of COVID. So what's my point here? A lot of stuff going on, and it was all a numbers game. We'll save so many lives if we give out the vaccination, and it should be more of a therapeutic than a vaccination. According to some people, I get the controversy and everything else, but it's cost-benefit. When you look at the OSHA regulations and the original federal registers for a lot of the chemicals out there, they changed PELs or established new PELs, permissible exposure limits, it's numbers. One of the other numbers that used to be out there, I was reading an article today. It used to be what they expected for every $1 million spent on a project, they'd get one fatality. Well, that was what it was worth, right? That's $1 million, blah, blah, blah. Adds to the cost of the project when all said and done. And that's fine. The companies were willing to pay that on the larger projects. Cost benefit. It goes into everything. Now you're getting into the situation with Obamacare and what the other countries do. Cost benefit. And it release rationing of care because, in effect, you're putting in a price ceiling on things, in a manner of speaking. And that's basically getting it integrated. And if the government integrates all of these programs, then it could be weaponized. How could it be weaponized? Well, we just saw it. You had people, accusations on both sides of the aisle just now with the SNAP program that things are weaponized. Back and forth, they're saying the Republicans talk about Democrats Republicans, and the poor people, as usual, are caught in the middle, or the powerless, caught in the middle here. Now we're going to do this all over again. It looks like probably in September, and with SNAP and other stuff going on with Obamacare in January with subsidies. And everything else that goes. So how is it going to work out? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, what are you going to do about it? So we're about here, the safety wars, self-empowerment. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to prepare? How are you going to try to make your food supply more secure? If you're a member, if you're involved in outside the government food safety, how's your organization going to respond to this coming up in September when this happens again, or in the future? I don't know if I shared this earlier this week. I got in was about 1992, 1991, and in 91, beginning of 92, pardon me, my college girlfriend's parents gave me a cassette that was grainy, scratchy, and everything else of somebody who predicted pretty much everything we talked about with the shutdown and how this would destabilize everyone and destabilize the country and would lead to a power grab or civil war or civil unrest or something like that. I saw a conspiracy theory. Is a conspiracy theory with what we're seeing nowadays? So let's go right on over. Government reopens is from the Epoch Times. Government reopens after longest shutdown in U.S. history. 4 things to know. Right? And again, the government employees that I know that haven't been receiving paychecks are very happy today. Government has reopened under President Trump signed a funding bill approved by both chambers. And again, nobody knows what's in there for sure. It's sort of like a Nancy Pelosi thing. We got to read it to find out what's in it. Our troops, our air traffic controllers, and federal employees will be back to receiving their regular paychecks. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told a briefing ahead of the signing. So what are some of the things? 1, food stamps. Approximately 42 million people enrolled in Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program, SNAP, stopped receiving all or some of their benefits after October as the Trump administration resisted tapping tariff revenue to fully fund food stamps for November. Federal government spends $9 billion a month on SNAP. Contingency money previously set aside by Congress was used by the administration to partially fund November benefits under orders from a federal judge. Supreme Court blocked a different order that would have required the administration to use tariff revenue to fully fund the program. Right? Now that the shutdown has come to an end, USDA must provide the necessary guidance to states to ensure every eligible family receives their full November SNAP benefits here. So, again, halfway through the month almost, right? And it's still, it's impacting people. Flight restrictions. FAA administration ordered flight restrictions earlier in November. Here, some air traffic controllers did not report to work. Controllers are government employees, so they are working without pay. Right? And according to what happened in 2019, when this happened last time, it took air traffic controllers approximately 2 to 2.5 months to be able to be made whole from their all of their compensation. On the same day, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said that controllers will receive 70% of their back pay within 24 to 48 hours after the shutdown ends. In another briefing on Tuesday, he said that controllers may not immediately return to work. So it's going to be like a phase-in for the air traffic controllers. Back pay. A large number of government employees have not been receiving paychecks amid the shutdown, with some including air traffic controllers, Department of Justice attorneys without working pay, as lawmakers negotiated. The Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019 requires the government to provide back pay to furloughed employees as well as workers accepted from the furlough who worked during the shutdown. The employees shall be paid at the earliest possible date after the lapse in appropriations ends, regardless of scheduled pay dates, the Act states. So, here, we're going here, I don't know. Hold on one second here. I'm sorry, I had to clear my throat here. Another shutdown. The package fully funds the USDA, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the legislative branch, military construction for fiscal year 2025. Other agencies were only provided with funding through January 30th, 2026. So fiscal year 2025, I think they mean 2026 with that. That's what I am hearing from some of the federal people. So those are the 4 takeaways with that. Other labor news, right? We talk about labor stuff here a lot. Here, the White House economist, this is from the Epoch Times also. We will never know October unemployment rate. Top White House advisors said there will be a half a jobs report instead for October. A White House economic advisor confirmed Thursday that federal officials won't be able to determine what the employment rate was for last month due to the government shutdown that ended on Wednesday. The October employment report for the payroll side will be able to be calculated, but the household survey wasn't completed. So the household survey is when they actually talk to real people like you and I with that, and they can't go back and capture that data. That's my understanding of it. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. So this is a sad story. Some people say, well, doom and gloom. I hear that. So there was a coal miner who unfortunately passed away. A coal miner has been found 6 days after he got trapped underground in complete darkness in a flooded mine. And this was at an Alpha facility in West Virginia here. Two-man crew found his body early Thursday after finally getting inside the mine, said Governor Morrissey. So for that mine operator, it's the third death. Both the others occurred at the nearby Raleigh County. An elevator being tested struck a miner on a first-floor platform in August, and a coal seam fell on a contractor in February at Alpha's Black Eagle mine. So MSHA is investigating. Crews have been working hard at trying to enter the flooded mine and save Lipscomb, who was stuck in about 3,600 feet below ground inside the mine. No prayers and condolences go out to that family. 6 days, imagine that. You're down there for 6 days. Horrible situation. Now, on to some royal news here. Sarah Ferguson's bombshell. She prepares to flee UK for a new $3.6 million seafront mansion. This is from express.co.uk. So her ex-husband, who apparently she's very friendly with, right, she's fleeing, right? He basically lost everything. He's a commoner now, basically, the royal equivalent of a defrocking. And essentially his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, who retained, I believe, Her Royal Highness or some of her titles, ended up, at least some of them, I'm not sure which ones. She wasn't, I read an article where she's not completely gone, but her children at least have, I think that her children still retain some of their titles. Right, she's saying, I'm out of here. She's headed on over to Lisbon, 82 miles south of Lisbon, Portugal. She's going to be leaving sometime in January, allegedly. So, I don't know. It's she lost some of her stuff with that, some of her thing, right? Now, here we have from archive.ph, they reference an article in The Atlantic. So I remember back in the day when I was growing up, locker room nudity was normal. Awkward, but normal. And I think this harkens back, in culture going back a long time, even during, I was never in the military, but in the military, a lot of nudity, especially in boot camp, from people I've spoken to, known, and everything else, and the locker rooms, and going back pre-1980, I guess this was a normal thing, and that pretty much has been my experience. Been starting to phase out sometimes in the 80s because we've had more awareness of, we'll just say, minor attracted children. Minor attracted adults. In there, and that's when the awareness started, was 1980, and I'm sure people who grew up, Gen Xers, and before that have stories galore more than probably anything else, any other generation, on the shit that went down in locker rooms. However, since after Gen Xers, people started to talk about it more and more. So, and this accelerated into where not, group nudity went down because of things going on. And this, too, is part of the safety war. One day, I'll be able to share some stories, but right now, just for complete disclosure, I'm involved, until I'm told I'm not, in one of these cases that went down with child abuse. Wasn't me. I wasn't the victim. Not long ago, after a day of work, this is from the Atlantic, a colleague and I met for a friendly game of racquetball at our university gym. In the newly designed locker room, I began pulling off my shirt to change when he quickly stopped me. "You can't do that here." Undressing, it turned out, was now permitted only in small private stalls, which struck me as odd. This was a gym with a pool where someone could go directly from a shirts-on locker room to a shirtless swim. The logic was clear enough. The space had been redesigned as universal for people of all genders. The locker room, once a place for casual normative nudity, had become a place where modesty was expected. I don't know. I think it's bizarre. I know when I was working in the refining industry, we had a trailer. Everybody changed in the trailer. We were all men. And when they did have women coming onto the jobs, that was a union job, they had women coming in from the union hall. They had their own place. So, I don't know. My Seattle gym is far from the only one to adapt to practice, so public nakedness isn't completely gone. Many of the everyday spots where Americans once encountered unclothed bodies, locker rooms, school showers, public pools, bathhouses, have either vanished or shifted away from collective nudity. In 2017, Athletic Business, a trade publication for sports facility design and management, reported that communal showers without curtains or dividers had disappeared from new construction. This year, a different trade publication noted that one of the prevailing trends in locker room design is privacy, a way to make diverse user base feel comfortable. No, and this is, I don't know, this is just one of those things. And if in the safety war and human resources world, how are you handling this? Right? Again, locker rooms were normal in pretty much every place I've ever worked here. So basically they calling for a complete redesign and everything else with everything. And the openness, I'll be polite here, the openness of people identifying as multiple genders is part of, I'm sure has a part of what's going on here. Oh, wow, that's nice. My son sent me a picture of my mother's African violets in bloom. Christmas cactus, in bloom here. Wow, we got about 30 flowers on it. And the article goes all through in Atlantic, all on the history of this. Some good, some bad, I guess. People are being more modest. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But again, that's a question for the workplace. How are you going to redesign your workplaces around this? For example, decon showers, and that happens a lot. So we're going to go to a short commercial break, and we're going to get on to, they have not released any press releases, really, Department of Labor or OSHA, but no, I expect to see them back up and running in the next couple of days. We'll talk about a couple of things here from the EPA.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com. or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
At Safety FM, we're just a humble radio station and podcast network. But we're changing the way people look at safety, one broadcast and one podcast at a time. Because here, we don't treat the word safety as a dirty word. We make it powerful. Rated R Safety Show. Jay Allen pushes boundaries and breaks myths. Safety Wars. Jim Posel brings the battle for safety to life. Pre-accident investigations. Todd Conklin dives deep into human performance. The Safety Consultant Podcast, Sheldon Primus helps you build your business and your career. A Hope Podcast with no name. Andy Barker and Matt Florio keep it real with human and organizational performance. The Accidental Safety Pro, Jill James explores what it means to grow in this profession. The Safety of Work, Dr. Drew Ray and Dr. David Proven bring you science, research, and real-world impact. Hop into action. Ben Hutchinson gets you moving from theory to practice. Truck Safe Live. Brandon Wiseman delivers compliance and safety for America's road warriors. The Safety Pro Podcast. Blaine J. Hoffman blends leadership and innovation for today's workforce. Whether you're on the job, on the road, or on a mission to make work safer, there's a voice for you at Safety FM. Safety FM, changing the way people look at safety. One broadcast.
What if everything we thought we knew
Visit
about safety?
safetyfm.com.
There's a new daytime talk show on your local.
I'm sorry about that. OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Yes, Jessica, I am your father. Anyway, she's growing into quite a young lady there with this. So let's talk about some EPA news. During the pandemic, through the shutdown, they've been regularly issuing press releases. I think because there must have been some statutory requirement on some of these things to issue that. So we're not going to go through all of them. We keep on meaning to go through them, but it never seems to work out. EPA, this is from November 7th. EPA issues additional decisions on small refinery exemptions. Agency continues work to get Renewable Fuel Standard program back on track. U.S. EPA is delivering on President Trump's promise to restore America's energy dominance by continuing to process small refinery exemption petitions. Today, the agency is acting on 16 individual SRE petitions from 8 refineries seeking exemption from their renewable fuel standard obligations for compliance years 2021 to 2024. So I don't get it. So they're doing this from 2021 to 2024. Let me share the screen here. In consultation with the DOE, Department of Energy, EPA reviewed and considered information submitted by each petitioning small refinery. EPA then evaluated each SRE petition consistent with the Clean Air Act and case law. After carefully reviewing all information, EPA is granting full exemptions to 2 petitions, granting partial exemptions to 12 petitions, and denying 2 petitions. Concurrent with issuing these decisions, EPA is updating the SRE website. I guess when the shutdown was completed. So here we have. Let me click on this. All right. I don't know. This webpage tells us nothing. So I guess it's the sort of thing that oftentimes you have a situation and they evaluate how you did after, right, ex post facto. So that looks like what the situation is. So they're looking back at what happened in the past right? And they get assessed somehow. That's probably what it is an ex post facto thing, is what I imagine. If you have more information, let me know. EPA selects cleanup plan for portion of lower Neponset River Superfund sites. So this is up in Boston and Milton, Massachusetts. This covers the area of Neponset River from where it emerges from the Mother Brook near Dana Avenue Bridge to the Tilliston and Hollingsworth Dam. I know exactly where this is. This represents another great milestone for the lower Neponset River Superfund site and is a reflection of this administration's priorities to move cleanup activities along swiftly, efficiently, and fulfill the agency's core mission of protecting human health and the environment, said EPA New England Regional Administrator Mark Sanborn. In June 2025, EPA completed an engineering evaluation and cost analysis. This analysis evaluated cleanup alternatives and presented EPA's recommended cleanup plan to address contamination from polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, and other hazardous substances. So we mentioned chlorine last night in dry cleaning and how that ends up in people's blood there. And here we have another chlorinated compound, PCBs. Wherever you see chlorine, it's an issue. You say, well, Jim, we drink chlorinated water. Yes. But again, here we're talking about cost benefit. Within a generation of having chlorinated water, our life expectancy doubled almost. So because we didn't have waterborne illnesses as much in drinking water. And this is, right, so you have a cost-benefit analysis on that. There are newer technologies, but chlorine, even in a emergency situation, still is used to clean water. Other hazardous substances, right, and other hazardous substances. EPA had held a comment period, which included a virtual public hearing. All public comments were considered before selecting the cleanup plan. The cleanup plan includes dredging and excavating contaminated sediment on floodplain soil with a total PCBs exceeding 1 part per million, constructing a permanent camp on the first mile of the river to stabilize and restore the riverbed, minimizing surface water elevation changes, providing habitats and isolating any remaining contamination in deeper sediment, transporting and disposing of contaminated sediment and soil offsite, and removing the Tilliston and Hollingsworth Dam. The cleanup design will begin in 2026 and is anticipated to begin in 2027. The removal action is estimated to take 4 years to complete. So pretty interesting here. This area was added to the national priorities list in March 2022 and is currently identified by EPA as a 3.7-mile stretch of the Neponset River. Anyway, and I worked on a couple of these projects in Massachusetts, and this is interesting here. Industrialization and urbanization began on the Neponset River Basin as early as the 1630s. I mean, a lot of those New England industrial sites go way back. There was one that I worked on way back in the day that it was back in the 1750s. We were doing stuff from different industrial processes then in the 1750s. So it was, and what did they do? They dumped things out back. They didn't, there was no mind paid to where things were going. Recognized as the second watershed to be industrialized in the U.S., the Neponset River has a complex history of contamination from both point and non-point sources, meaning you have a sewer pipe running into it from, let's say, a factory, and non-point, a sewer pipe from storm sewers, right, or from erosion, right, point and non-point. Used historically for hydro-powered factories, the Neponset River has been home to countless industrial land use ventures, most, if not all, which likely had an outflow and discharge by its pumping industrial waste directly into the river. See the EPA website for more information on that. Okay. Here's one from the 10th this week. EPA proposes changes to make PFAS reporting requirements more practical and implementable, reducing regulatory burden. U.S. EPA released a proposal I like that word, proposal, to improve the scope of its perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances reporting regulations under the Toxic Substances Control Act, aka TSCA, to make them more practical and implementable and reduce unnecessary or potentially duplicative reporting requirements for businesses while maintaining the ability to obtain important use and safety information. So we're doing things easier, right? So what are some of the exemptions? PFAS and mixtures of products in concentrations of less than 0.1%. Imported articles, certain byproducts, impurities, research and developmental chemicals, and non-isolated intermediates. With this, and I'm sure this is going to piss a lot of people off. And our final EPA story from today. EPA grants the state of Texas primacy to protect underground water resources. This was from yesterday. Today, the U.S. EPA announced a final rule approving the state of Texas' request to administer permitting for Class 6 underground injection wells under the Safe Drinking Water Act. With this approval, Texas will implement underground injection control programs covering all well types, Class 1 through 6, allowing better coordination and improved efficiencies. This action recognizes that Texas is best positioned to protect its underground sources of drinking water while bolstering economic growth and energy dominance. With that, and again, Texas says they're ready to do this. My opinion, okay, give them this authority, but closely watch it. That's my opinion because, again, what's my issue here with all these things? It is, come on, we all know it is, sovereign immunity. They're not going to hold people responsible for the shit they do in government. This is and systems they place up that may or may not do what they're supposed to. That's an issue. And if you had a private company do that or a private individual, they'd end up in jail. I'd say lock them up. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Yes, I am a ultra right-wing conservative. Yes. However, I am more radical than many environmentalists on the left. All right? Believe me, on so many things. U.S. Department of Labor, this is from OSHA, or DOL. U.S. Department of Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer and Deputy Secretary Keith Sonderling today announced several newly Senate-confirmed senior agency leaders have officially joined the department. The 7 new agency heads were appointed by President Trump to carry out the administration's mission of putting America first. And when was this press release? It was from November 5th, from last week. So who did they appoint? Daniel here we go. Daniel Aronowitz, Employee Benefits Security Administration. From MSHA, Wayne Palmer was confirmed to be the Assistant Secretary of the Mine Safety and Health Administration. And OSHA, David Keeling, was confirmed by the U.S. Senate to serve as Assistant Secretary of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Office of Disability and Employment Policy is Julie Hocker. Office of the Chief Financial Officer was Dave Castillo. And Office of Solicitor was Jonathan Berry, Solicitor of Labor. And Wage and Hour Division was Andrew Rogers on that. So congratulations to everybody there. AI. Yeah, you heard an AI song at the beginning of the show here. So here we have artists created by artificial intelligence at the top of the American music charts. This has been making its way around the internet for the last couple of days. Artificial intelligence is gradually establishing itself in the music industry, thanks to Jim Posel and Safety Wars. I'm only joking on that. A mysterious artist about whom more and more specialists believe that he is a creation of artificial intelligence has reached the top of the country music charts in the U.S. The song Walk My Way, signed by Breaking Rust, is currently the most downloaded song on the Billboard chart dedicated exclusively to digital sales. Breaking Rust has no known identity on social networks and streaming platforms where there is no explicit mention of the use of an artificial intelligence. However, the voice without an identifiable performer, as well as the illustrations and videos that are definitely digitally generated, have fueled the hypothesis that the project is actually the result of an AI system. Lauren Weinstein, I think is his name, was commenting on this late last night. He said, "Bring it on." I'll say this much. I get bored with the music out there. I'm sorry. They don't make, no, I'm like, let's just say I have a different cultural bent on this. I like sarcasm. I like satire. And that comes out in the music that we use for the show. I would like to call myself the Weird Al of AI music. Who would have ever thought we're doing shutdown music the entire time of the shutdown with that? And we often use that on different shows, different events for the day. We use AI music. Why? It's fun. It's cheap. Everybody gets a good kick out of it. And it's what I'm known for in my community. When I did the ASSP presentation a couple weeks ago, now I used, hold on, where is it here? Here you go.
Strapped tight, ain't no joke. Gotta hold steady, can't let it choke. Don't rock the safety boat. Keep it smooth, keep it afloat.
Right? Where are you going to find music like that? I mean, it's funny. And we actually did the AI Halloween music. We actually have a 15-minute video with all the AI music for that. And I don't know, should I release it or not? Onto iTunes, on to one of those other ones. Who knows? U.S. Fish has received a briefing on the benefits and risks of artificial intelligence from Paul Schertz at the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops Fall Plenary Assembly in Baltimore. Schertz, a theological professor at the University of Notre Dame, has studied the ethics of AI at the November 12th meeting. Schertz highlighted some of the findings and shared how the bishops should approach technology in their diocese. Okay, let's give you a quick example here. So let's fire up ChatGPT here. All right, and let's see here. Let me get out here. Oh, we got the lessons from last week. We have Atonement Lutheran Church. Here we have November 9th service here. And we have, let's see. It's the Old Testament, Luke 20:27 to 40. So I'm going to enter in here. Luke 20. Right, I need a sermon based on Lutheran teachings. We're going to say 100 words on this Bible passage. So that's what I clicked in, right? So here we have AI. Boom, boom, boom. So here we have a 100-word sermon. So, in Luke 20, the Sadducees, this isn't turning into a religious program here, but just for an example. In Luke 20, the Sadducees test Jesus with a question meant to trap him, but Christ lifts their eyes to a greater truth. The resurrection is real, and life with God is not bound by earthly limits. Our Lord shows that God is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all who belong to him and live in his presence. In Lutheran teaching, this passage anchors our hope in Christ's victory over death, given to us by grace alone. We do not speculate about heaven. We trust in the God who keeps his promises, and Christ's resurrection is certain. Guess what? I think the real threat that's not being, we can go down here, right? Technologies have great potential to contribute to human flourishing. This is from CNA, Catholic News Agency, and the common good, Schurz said. But note that it would be a mistake to describe these programs as intelligent the same way humans are. And it goes on and on and on. In his discussion, Schurz highlighted 3 Catholic ministries that can implement AI while also detailing the potential threats. The largest Catholic ministry AI can be implemented in is healthcare. Okay, great, because there's a lot of stuff in there. Healthcare. What are the other one? The issue is that bias from lack of diversity in training data, such as early genomic studies, largely containing research subjects who are middle-aged class and European descent. While AI is used to improve diagnostics and greater efficiency, we must be wary of significant dangers. Anything that restricts space, so they're talking about bias here. Well, an algorithm cannot substitute a gesture of closeness or word of consolation. In other words, you need people. Second ministry is AI, heavily affected by AI, are Catholic schools, right? Where we're personalization of education for every student. But however, I guess, again, no human contact. No teachers model essential human qualities that with joy with that. And that's what it comes down to with this article here. Now, I think the real threat by a lot of ministers and priests, and is what it is, and I've spoken to several of them on this, is what I just did. How do we know if that's sound Lutheran teaching? You are going, right, if you're a Lutheran, you're supposed to use sound Lutheran teaching. Catholic, sound Catholic, Baptist, Hinduism, the whole 9 yards here, depending on how do you know that that's actually not giving me the answer that I want to give, what I want to hear? How do you know? Again, you need to know what the hell you're dealing with before you prompt. You have to know basically what you're dealing with here. Know about theology. If you're using it for a picture, you got to know something about how a picture is supposed to look. That color wheel that everyone except an artist would, just overlooks in your font color and your graphics programs and the color, right? Got to know the color wheel. You got to know something about music before you make AI music. What you're looking for, what's it called, things, so you can prompt it correctly. And so I think the greatest threat to a lot of ministers is, and other people in ministry, and it can be clergy, rabbi, whatever you are, doesn't matter, is that you have tools like this that may exempt you. That may, I'm sorry, not exempt you. No, what may make you obsolete on a lot of stuff here. I mean, imagine, I'm most familiar with Christianity and Lutheran ministers. They got a lot of stuff to do. A lot of them are doing 2 or 3 or 4 parishes where they're in charge of. They're short on time. Guess what? The temptation is to go in there with artificial intelligence and write a sermon for you. And it may have nothing to do with what's going on in your church and your community or anything else. And now you've removed the human part, the human touch, the human connection in this. And that, I think, is the real threat. And the same thing goes for your safety documents on this. So that's what I have for tonight. And I will I think we might be going an hour 2 tonight. Who knows? For Safety Wars, this is Jim Polzel. I look forward to hearing you, seeing you this weekend, possibly. I don't know. Well, who knows? For Safety FM and the Safety Wars, this is Jim Polzel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.